Thank you for coming on into the live and sharing your essence with me in this eternal moment of which we all share an inextricable and inexorable part. Thank you for doing your part, for coming on in each and every day, and we'll do the same without wasting a single second of your time. Bada bing, bada boom, we go. And boom indeed to the downside. Bitcoin getting a pull from that 0.66 level down to the 618 of this diagonal pitch fan we've had price in for some time now. And do we see some sort of stochastic pop here up to the upside to reclaim some levels? We do have some news inbound that we need to be abreast to. First, we have the Japanese money policy statements. A lot of the news this week is going to be pertaining to the dollar, as it's dealing with a lot of Aussie currency, Euro, German, Canadian. All of the currencies are having their meetings, followed up with Thursday with the GDP from America, advanced GDP and unemployment claims, and some other orange folders for the dollar. Also, you have some earnings for NASDAQ coming, so you have a lot of big news coming this week that will set the tone for the dollar. The dollar, as you know, has been in a consolidation phase, holding within this range. One way to look at it here is you just take this pardon me, regression trend tool and see that it's just been trading in this range. We were looking at it for it to come down a little bit. It did, but then it started to bounce back up here as people took their profits on NQ. Whoa, what? Oh, whoops. So we were looking for NQ to have a little bit of a pullback here yesterday down to this region, because there was a thin amount of sells in this area. We were looking at it over here. We were seeing that we could possibly pull back to this region. Prior to the open, they did have a manipulation up before they brought it down, but eventually there's that manipulation up, and then they brought it down to this level and started to fill up this region with these volume with equal fair value contracts. Do we come down into this region here at the 1618 for the 17365 level and start to put in something at these thin print zones here? That is another possibility, because there's very little traded in there. Now, if we go to a lower time frame, that's not exactly the case. You can see the sells and the buys inside of here, but a majority of buys only here. Buys only, buys only, buys only. So coming and thickening this up a little bit perhaps before coming to the upside. So maybe for NASDAQ we come down, put in a low for the week, and then send it beyond Thunderdome. So that is something we will be looking at the 1618 of the bullish trend-based fib level. This trend-based fib would have had you at hello from back here. This impulse retrace had the math inside to come up to this 2414 region ahead of time. So that is how we use the fibs. I'm sure everyone has their own little special sauce though. So let's go into BTC. So we were talking about BTC and the 236 holding for that bearish overtone idea. We were saying they could possibly manipulate up, but as long as this level holds, then you are going to see downside, possibly down into this region and below. And we were looking at this CME gap area, which got recovered, and now we're starting to see a little bit of a bounce off of this gap. Does this hold? Do we have upside from here? That is the question. If we look at the liquidity, we can figure that out. What is the liquidity? Well, people lock their liquidity into the charts to get burnt to a crisp by the market maker for not using a stop loss, and we get to see where those crispy characters are, so let's do it now. So 74 million in longs on BTC in the last 24 hours.
Fatality.
64 million on ETH, and a lot of green means a lot of longs liquidation, so 15 million on Sol, 31 million on others, and a lot of longs on alts, so that means the alts were bleeding out today alongside Bitcoin as it got that drop, because everything is paralyzed and connected to the hip of Bitcoin. You could have seen that with the dominance rise that we were talking about. We were talking about a possible rise of the dominance, and when the dominance rises and the USDT wants to go up, that means people getting kicked out of their longs, and then total 3 taking a dump to the downside. We were saying if it could hold this, you could get a bounce there, but ultimately seeing this go lower. Let's see the daily. So the bullish trend-based fib level for the alts is down here. Let's do it on a daily time frame. I don't know how this got moved around exactly, but there we go. But the 236 is still down here at 442 billion for the alts. If it can get down to this region, perhaps you can see some reaction after sweeping these lows, or coming down to here and then going up from there. Bitcoin needs to step up to the plate though. We were seeing this resistance level up here coming to this resistance zone, this 1382 rejection idea on the altcoins. Before we do that, let's go ahead and just do a thorough analysis of BTC. Sorry, my throat is a little bit messed up, so pardon me if I clear my throat. Okay. So, BTC on the 3-day. So we were looking here at these liquidity pools down below. This one got reclaimed. I think this was a pool we were looking at from back here. Let's go ahead and make it visible over here. Yeah, we were looking at this at 39.5 as a potential reclaim zone. It got reclaimed, so that pool was taken out. Did we come down to the fib level here at the 38.889 region? There is a gap down here to reclaim. So do we come into this region here on the 6 hour? Are we done with the damage? Let's go ahead and look at the liquidity now. So this liquidation map. So in the interim here, this would be equivalent to your high block 1 minute. You can see that there is a little bit more to the upside here, 100 million up in this region. However, you still have some heavy long leverage trying to expect a bounce here. So do you come up into this 40,155 and then see how this reacts here? One thing you can do is you go to the 5 minute. Look at how many longs are opening up here on ML application. So using this liquidation level, set your threshold to 0.1. You can see where the battle is ensuing. So they're coming back into these late 100x shorters right now, coming up to that 40,050 region perhaps to clear out the 100x. There's some 100x longs opening up as well, but there's more shorts to longs, as you see 1 2 3 4 to 1 1 2 1 2. So here 1 2 3 got eliminated. A 3.49 million 100xer eliminated on this drop. Boom, came up into them. So there, as some of the shorts consider closing too, it causes a suction to cannibalize the late shorters, ironically. So you do have some liquidity on both sides here on that liquidation levels chart. Going back to this, you have the 70 million, 90 million, up to 40,005. From this same point down to 30,300. Basically, from this distance to this distance, you'd get more money going up. So going up to the 40,005 region seems to be where it's going up to right now on this interim, to grab some of these over leveraged shorts, these late shorters coming up into here at that 40,200 level, 4,179. So coming back into there, there's some more leverage up here, a lot of shorts, 1.6 billion up to that 41.7 region. Still have some down below, but we were saying you could possibly get a long opportunity after that CME gap fills itself. So we will see. Let's go ahead and expand the vision to the higher time frame pools here, going to the heat map. This heat map, you can look at the last 12 hours. There's some liquidity up here at that 41,100 region. 24 hours came and grabbed all of that. Most notably was on the 3-month. We were seeing this 1.13 billion at 39,284 basically get destroyed. So now you're down to 282 million. So that 1.13 turned to 282. So now that they knocked out some of these longs, you could be seeing a squeeze to the shorts. This is the Asian range. I don't trust the pumps from Asia. Asia generally sets it up to go into something for London, and then you could possibly get some pump out of London from there. But let's go ahead and take a look at our oscillator, shall we? Let's go say what's up to everyone. Yo, Dingo, Clue, yo, 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 yo. You were expecting worse? Yeah, it wasn't so bad. It was kind of a slow drip. It's possible they go even lower though. Let's go to what were we trying to do now? Yes. Link in the description for more Momentum Master, coming down to the schematic that we saw for Bitcoin's bottom at 15K, and the rest was history. Trend cloud, baseline, stochastic array, and more. Dynamic alerts to your phone so you can be plugged into all the probabilities. Let's go ahead and take a look. We're gonna load up the regular template here. All right. So one thing we're getting, pardon me, fatigue across 7 time frames. This is what this 7 is. It's not showing a rocket ship because you need some other special sauce for the rocket ship to show up on daily time frames and whatnot. So I'm guessing the RSI and stuff is high, or on the weekly. Let's go ahead and take a look at the weekly. So the weekly money flow and RSI is pretty high, and the Williams is pretty high, so you could still be saying acceleration to the downside on the weekly. This was something we put out yesterday, or towards the weekly candle close. We were talking about this weekly cross down event. Now this closed as of the weekly candle close on Monday, so this gives you the insinuation of the idea that the weekly time frame could be crossing down. The last time we had that was back in May, and we saw a few weeks of downside. This was after the cascade of the 3-day cross down event, and it took us a while to cross back up in October. So this is the first time in a while that we're seeing this cross down event of the weekly baselines. What are the baselines? Well, you can go read about them here. They're your first sign of reversal, which is why we were talking about that on the 3-day for a long time. basically since December 15th when this locked in, we are saying that this top up here, we are looking at a point of interest at 48,295 and saying that that could be a fatigue point for this 3-day cross down event, similar to here when it started to do that and fade for 18%. So far the analysis is on point with Momentum Master and the cross down event of the baselines. Do we come back down to this trend base fib level at that 38,889 region? Well, if you cannot close candles up above this 40K region, then you're basically destined to come lower into these regions to tap some of this liquidity down below. We have a large amount on the 3-month down at 34, 2.26 billion at 34K even, and a lot more down in that region. So breaking down and grabbing all of that could be in the interim. Even if we come up to here and retest 44 or 45, we could be on our way to a bearish retest zone to come down into this region. But to be honest with you, I'm looking for a little bit of a bounce. We'll see. Line in the sand is at 42,470 for the shorts, and then if not, you get above to this 42,45,245 gap equilibrium zone of this candle. Okay, so going into the lower time frame, daily coming back to the adaptive moving average. You can think of the adaptive as a VWAP. It's a more sensitive thing than the VWAP. We were watching this curvature form on the daily cloud going to this 2 o'clock angle and showing this sign of reversal of weakness. This was your bearish retest of that cloud up here on Tuesday, January 16th. And then we started to fade off of the cloud. Trade with the cloud, I always say, and yeah, if you had done that, you would have gotten paid. So if there is a possibility of a reversal or a cut reclaim bounce up to the 41.5 region, you could be seeing this reclaim, but it could take some time to develop. As you look at the daily time frame, the stochastic getting suppressed by the Williams. It's been a while since the Williams came down to the oversold region. The last time it did that was back in September when we had the rockets down here on September 11th. So haven't seen the Williams in that position in a long time. We've gotten oversold before, only to cross up and then do a B retest dump even further, so be careful about that. This was around the time that SpaceX dumped their Bitcoin, and we had a rocket ship that falsely took off, and then we got another one down here. Okay, so watch for more structure to form before you make your go heavy here. This was a large drop down. It may not be a V-shaped up. Don't expect V-shapes. Expect more structure before your confirmations. If you go to the 22, the 22-hour had this money flow disparity. We talk about this disparity a lot, and this disparity of the money flow coming above the RSI was your fatigue point for it to come down to the RSI. It does that a lot. We were talking about that on the live, which is why we put out this arrow to the downside in advance. We can delete it now because it's in the past, but this is what was leading to that conclusion of momentum. The 3 pillars of trading are liquidity, which is what we look at first, then we lay down our math, which is the second pillar, and then the momentum. How does the momentum react off the math and the liquidity? That's basically all you need. You don't need patterns. Patterns are tertiary to those 3 things. They form after the fact. So you'll get your inverted head and shoulders after they react off these regions. So if you have a plan and you get in on those regions, then you can be first before the pattern even forms or even knows it wants to be a pattern. Okay, so we're coming back above 39,879. It's possible we come back above this. Let's go into the 12-hour. Let's speed it up so we can get a little bit more into the nitty-gritty of what's happening right now. So the 12-hour is getting a cross down event. We are getting some acceleration here to the downside. You did get a 6 time frames oversold lock in on the 12-hour. When these lock in on a large time frame, you generally get a pause and a bounce off of that idea. So we could be getting a bounce off of the 6 time frames oversold idea locking in on the 12. I got an alert on my phone as it was happening when we came to that 7 early in the morning my time. Looking at the 6-hour, oh whoops, we didn't look at the oscillator. The oscillator has the money flow above the RSI similar to the 22, and that was what was coming down to the RSI idea. Williams getting an oversold state, the MACD coming down to say hello to the Williams. It's been a while since they came down together. Let's look at the 6-hour. I think that's also the cloud, right? No, that's the 4-hour cloud. So the 6-hour cloud is coming down here in a manner and starting to curve ever so slightly here. How does it curve and continue on its path of curvature? 4.8% away at 41.7. On the 6-hour, also getting a cross down event, bearish overtone, meaning it would take time to set up most likely. So even though you're in this oversold state, similar to, for example, back here, you were oversold here, but you're getting a cross down and you have to wait for the cross up to see this occur, and there's nothing to stop us from being in this range for some time. This entire range from September that took us to the upside was 58 days. Bitcoin's notorious for reaccumulating in a slow pattern, so there's no rush to necessarily get a pop back up to 50k instantaneously. Granted, you can get these little 10%, but then it immediately gives it back as they try to destroy the over-leveraged people. So it may be a while that we're in this range, who knows? No one knows the future, and we are beneath the 39.7 and 39.9 daily resistance levels from, or support and resistance levels from back here. So these areas where we dropped down out of the range back in May, we're starting to come back above it. Can we flip these into support? There's a point of control down here at 39 even. If we can flip this point of control of this range from 2022, we could be on our way back up. So that's why we're looking to see how this reacts off of those regions. We could come back down, sweep a little bit lower, and then start to make our way up. We'll see how the structure develops here over the day. Once again, we got those news event plays. Let's go to the 4-hour. 4-hour came down even more furiously than we were seeing, and so we're possibly coming down in a manner here. 6-hour coming down, 4-hour coming down in this aggressive way. We had that daily cloud turning to 2. This is how you read the momentum. 4-hour cross down event with a lot of furious candles of sell side being taken. All those billions we talked about. A lot of vector candles grabbing on the 4-hour. And a pink one for stopping volume. So you're getting a stopping volume candle in the last 4 hours. So they're trying to take it lower without a follow through. So this means you could be getting a little bit of a bounce here. Looking at the stochastic, you're getting money flow and RSI at oversold levels. The money flow beneath the RSI, suggesting the money comes back in. on the 4-hour time frame. Looking at the hourly getting some bullish div on the hourly time frame here. You see these crystals on the money flow. So we're getting some money flow divergence and liquidity grab, and possibly seeing an hourly bounce. Hourly stochastic at 53. We did close this hourly candle at 10 o'clock just below the 786 here on the bearish trend-based fib. We're starting to get a potential of a cross up event on the hourly. Once again, it's the time frames that matter the most, so seeing this on an hourly time frame may not carry the same weight as you had cross up, cross down, cross up, cross down. So if the higher time frames calling for downside, beware of that. But it has to start somewhere, and it starts on the lower time frames. So this could be starting that bounce idea of that bullish divergence on the money flow after the liquidity grab, after a large liquidity grab at that. One way to check the liquidity, how much it is, I used to use this v3.aggr.trade. This has about 19 exchanges of accumulated data, and you can see where all the liquidations are. It will post the liquidations down bottom right where my head is. It also see the purple and the yellow for liquidated people across all the exchanges. And you can see this cumulative volume coming down on the green. And this is pretty cool. You know, you can see it on the 10-second. You can go to whatever time frame you want, and it's an aggregated data thing. So you can see all of these liquidations being had on the bulls in gold and the purple for bears. v3.aggr.trade. Also, if you go to YouTube and you want to see who was liquidated when you were not online, you can see the liquidation watch, and it will tell you that same thing. They're using that same thing. So there was a few bulls knocked out. We can go back even further. Go back like 2 hours and see who was liquidated. And that is what I do for that. So yeah, so there was large liquidations down in this area, obviously. And so we could be getting a little bit of stochastic pop as people close out their shorts in profit, and we get that 7 time frames locked in here, and we got the cross up event of the 15 starting to play out. Got a little mini double bottom. Cloud is mighty thick, so you could be just coming up to this cloud and then rejecting like we did before here in the evening. Rejected off the cloud, held the super trend, so the trend is bearish and mighty thick cloud on the 15. So until you can negate this cloud idea, you could be rejecting at the cloud and coming down to here. Okay, so you're 1.1% away from this fib level. This is the 706 trapdoor, I call it, at 40,267. It also happens to be the range top of this region. If you have a little bit of over leveraged people still in the longs, then they'll come down, grab those guys, and then potentially start to make some structure to come up. But until you can get above this cloud, you're not really bullish at all. And this is a mighty thick purple, so you might get that rejection and come on lower. We will see. There's not really much to look at in terms of the liquidity. We're coming up to these regions. Let's go to the 5-minute. We came back above on the 5-minute cloud, and the 5-minute cloud has thinned. So if you were watching this on the lower time frames, you would have seen this cross up in the 7 lock in after you alerted your phone. If you were seeing the double bottom here at 8:55 my time 2 hours ago, you would have been able to take this potential idea to the upside. can it cascade? Can we get above this 15-minute cloud and continue into some of this 50x short liquidity? The 100xers definitely look like they're going to be on the chopping block here. So we're definitely coming up to this 40,200 perhaps. What do we do at that cloud though, after that liquidity about 1% away? How do you react off of these 100xers? They're currently underwater. You can tell by the dots. Where did they open? They opened in this candle and this candle and this candle. These guys, their lines are cut, they're dead. This guy's dead, and these guys opening up here are underwater and on the chopping block. So you can see that these shorts that opened up in larger number than the longs are possibly going to get sucked up by their brethren, most likely shorts closing out to kill them basically. So yeah, we're doing a little bit more thorough analysis of Bitcoin because we came to a level that we were saying we would get to, that recovered CME. So there could be a potential long opportunity. We're trying to see how the structure forms for the confirmation. Okay, we didn't necessarily respect the fibs on these poles here, and we haven't broken the trend just yet. So I'd like to see a little bit more of a liquidity grab, perhaps down to that 39k would be ideal, and then watching for a reaction, like a violent reaction where the bulls step up to the plate and actually, you know, defend this territory. This is not a very good defense, so I don't want to be that, you know, FOMO person that gets stopped out if they go a little bit lower. 38.889 is what this fib is telling me it wants to do, come down to that basically 38.888. 38.888. If it goes down to 38.888, we'll give it a look. I'm going to put an alert there just to see what it does. All right, let's just make that. Can you change the color of it? Why is it white? All right, we'll just save that there. When it crosses 38, if it crosses 38.88, we'll take a look. So you have this thick 15-minute cloud that we've been seeing rejection. We got up above, rejected, rejected. So are we going to see this continuation of a rejection after stopping out some of the late shorters and then coming a little bit lower? We need to defend the 40k region for me to be bullish again. There's liquidity up above this trend-based fib at the 236 at 42.475, still a trend to the downside until you can reclaim all that. And you got a gap up here that unless you can break through that and break through that 236, you're still bearish in my eyes. But it has to start somewhere. So we're looking to the hourly time frame. So if you're in that long idea, just be careful of that 15-minute cloud. Watch for a flip and holding of the cloud. If you cannot hold the cloud, then or the super trend 1.1% away, then you're basically coming lower. All right, let's go look at the dominance. I think we did a thorough analysis of Bitcoin, so let's go to the dominance. So we are looking overall, I think we're basically on the idea that it's coming up from this cross-up event of the 12-hour, coming to this pocket region of the impulse retrace idea. It swept this liquidity off the table, and we could be coming back to this super trend level 1.3% away. You're getting overbought though, so the idea of Bitcoin dominance going up here. It looks like Bitcoin dominance wants to drop even further. So perhaps we've hit this 618 enough times that a deep retrace could be in order here. In which case, you could be coming on down to here for the dominance. So you got this 6 time frames overbought while going sideways, so there was no dominance surge. The dominance actually just held the line. One interesting thing is the 6-hour cloud here reclaimed. You have yet to make a reaction that's noteworthy on the dominance for Bitcoin. The USDT dominance, however, everyone getting knocked out. We were looking at this key level here for some time. We had some rocket ships down here and some bullishness for the USDT dominance, suggesting shorts were in control. This is also what we were seeing on the cloud of the 12-hour, which is why we have this curvature here, because the 12-hour was reclaimed and we were saying we would possibly come back and kiss the cloud. We didn't even have the bearishness to come down and kiss the cloud. We came to the 382 and we were gone. And so that was showing the shorts were kicking people into USDT. This is inverse to Bitcoin, so when you see Bitcoin like that, then USDT would be looking bullish, which means it's knocking people into USDT. This inverse relationship to Bitcoin is what needs to be applied when looking at what Bitcoin wants to do. So we came up into this gap here, we recovered this, we got another one up here. Looks like we could follow through. We're kind of retracing back down. And yeah, possibly going the distance here on USDT dominance. Coming back down a little bit more. That would mean Bitcoin going a little bit lower before it reacts off of this region. Alright, so the total 3 also had this nuke, letting you know that the structure was pretty ugly with double top vibes and rounded tops and rounded clouds, telling you alt season was starting to abate. And that's about it. So we'll see if you have any questions. Do you have any questions? I went pretty fast today, but I also had a lot to look at for Bitcoin to make sure everything on our levels and ideas were okay. So this area is looking interesting now. If we can't turn this 786 into support, if we're rejecting off of the 786 level, then where are we going? It's possible we come down to here. But generally, when you get these 6s and these 5s and these 7s, this is kind of what we look at. So this is why we're giving it a little bit more due diligence today, because look at this. You see this, the 5s and the 6s and the 7s and whatnot, and recovering the cloud. See how thick this cloud is? They get rejected and they come back down. So this is about where we're at. We're like in this beginning stage, and then possibly coming back down and seeing how it reacts, you know, with the cloud thinning. So I'd like to see it come back down again and double bottom. We're in the beginning stage of potentially bottoming out. You need to see more structure. One thing you can use on Momentum Master A is the higher high, lower low look back. In the beginning phases, this was to keep me out of trying to V-shape. When you're making lower lows, don't try to catch the knife on that. You wait till you're not making lower lows anymore before you start to think about ideas for longing. So here would have been a valid idea because we were not making lower lows on this time frame anymore. So the cross-up event and the alert here is more likely to give you something immediately. Whereas here, while you're making lower lows, you don't want to take these signals. And so yeah, if you stop making the lower lows, then here we go, we could be in that path. So we'll see. So let's go see what you guys have to ask or say, and then we will bid ya adieu. How's everyone doing out there, by the way? Where is that? Higher high, low low, look back. Beep. Man, that 34K is all over 618 of macro fib. Yep, pretty cool, man. What's up, prehab? Straightaway life. Worse, lol. That huge bearish candle from yesterday. That was quite a dump. Yeah, we saw that coming though, so that was not really like surprising. It was actually slower than I thought, you know, and I thought there'd be possibly more mitigation down in here and stuff too. It like literally went to the gap and then stopped. Like if you saw where we had it, like we had the CME gap, like it went right to the gap. This is what we were saying, and it went right to where we were saying, and then that's where it stopped. It was like very clean. So it's interesting. So that is my story, and I'm sticking to it, folks. So thank you for coming on into the live and sharing your essence with me in this eternal moment of which we all share an inextricable and inexorable part. Thank you for doing your part, for coming on in.